I was just warned about it. All right, I'll call to order our board study session on ethnic studies for today, Monday, October 13th. Before we get started, I just want to thank Theta for her leadership while I was away. This is my first day back from maternity leave, and just want to thank you for your leadership and the whole board for continuing the important work in my absence. And so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with roll call and let the record show that all 5 trustees are in attendance today. And if I can get a motion for approving the agenda as is, unless anyone would like to change anything. Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Theta. All those in favor? Aye. Right, 5-0. And so that leads us to our public comment for today's study session.
Well, this is public comment for items not listed on the agenda. Do we have any public comments for items not listed on the agenda?
That's not what it's just
Oh, on the study session
Yeah.
agenda, okay. We have a couple.
Okay. We'll start with Sophia Caramango.
I hope you can hear me because that's not near me. My
Can you move the mic because you're not picked up on the horn?
gonna try this two-handed. Hello, my name is Sophia Caramagno, and I have been a teacher at Mountain View for 19 of my 29 years as a teacher. That entire time I have taught freshmen and sophomores. Ethnic Studies is a class where students have the time and professional coaching to learn a variety of key skills needed for academic success. Because our content is primarily local and California history, students have ready access to what we are learning in their own lives. This makes the content extremely accessible, much more accessible than, say, the impact of imperialism on societies of the 19th century in Africa. This allows students to learn these academic skills faster and in more enduring way. It also means that students who might never have considered themselves academically gifted suddenly discover they have a great deal to contribute to the conversation, that they are more eager to use our strategies to communicate in speaking and writing because they are proud of their deep thinking and they want to express themselves in the language of formal thinking and speaking. This is especially true of students who are not native English speakers, but my shy students, my students who need more time to process their answers, my struggling students, the ones we say are of an equal priority to all of our bright and confident students, they all benefit. This class is transformative in a way I have never seen in my career. This process takes a year. In one semester, I can earn the trust of our most struggling students. I can introduce key skills. In a year, I can also provide the necessary time to practice and refine those skills so they become learned. I can prepare our students for advanced classes sophomore year and beyond. Finally, the structure of a full year of ethnic studies allows students to get to know each other across socioeconomic lines. Our content encourages students to think deeply about stereotypes and myths surrounding different groups. We create opportunities for students to play together, work together, investigate together, debate, and challenge each other's ideas with intellectual rigor. We teach them to collaborate. That kind of learning leads to friendships and understanding between groups that would normally never interact on school grounds. In a year, I can teach empathy. I can build a community. I can teach students how to work together towards a common goal. These are the skills that help students identify a problem and decide together how to fix it instead of being intimidated by it. That isn't something I would have time to do in a semester, but I don't think our students can wait to learn those kinds of skills. Thank you.
Next, we have Marta Sako-Hiken. And I'm sorry if I get the name wrong.
Good evening, board members. My name is Marta Sokovich-Heiken, and I've taught 9th and 10th graders at Los Altos High School for 10 years. I wanted to speak in support of keeping our 9th grade ethnic studies course as a year-long heterogeneous program. The structure gives students time to build trust, think deeply, and practice skills that prepare them not just for AP classes, but for being thoughtful and successful members of our school and our community. I understand that the board is considering changes, but I hope that before any structural shifts are made, we take the time to clarify why. What problem are we trying to solve? What do we want our 9th grade experience to accomplish? The why matters because our goals should guide our design and not the other way around. As teachers, we are constantly revising and refining this course. Every year, we review student experiences, align lessons, and update materials to make the curriculum stronger, more rigorous, and more inclusive. That process is ongoing. It is part of our professional practice. For example, this year we've been working on adjusting the pacing of our first 2 units in order to provide more time to develop and expand the content and pre-AP skill instruction in Unit 3. We have been working on developing lessons that explore historical origins of anti-Semitism, as well as lessons that are more strongly emphasizing early Indigenous and African American resistance. We are building in more AP-style assessments for students to practice leading up to their sophomore year. But this approach to revising and improving is very different from upending the structure of the course that has already been thoughtfully built and will continue to be refined through years of experience. If there are specific outcomes the board hopes to see, whether it's more academic rigor, changes to curriculum, or clearer alignment with district goals, these are changes we can make through the framework of our existing ethnic studies class and doesn't require a highly disruptive teardown. We can design towards the community's desired outcomes over time with collaboration and shared purpose. But if we dismantle the current structure without a clear rationale, we risk losing what's already working: the sense of community, the pre-AP skill development time, the inclusive approach that helps all students succeed beyond their 9th grade year. So I ask that we slow down, reflect on the purpose behind any proposed change, and stay focused on our shared interest, creating a 9th grade experience that truly supports every student's growth and readiness for the opportunities and challenges they may encounter in high school. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to our students.
Next, we have Gideon Burmeister.
Hello, my name is Gideon Burmeister. I'm a sophomore here at Mountain View High School. And last year I took the ethnic studies course with Kevin Heiken as a freshman. I believe that the class is one of the most vital classes for learning as a freshman. This course offers some of the most important lessons of our history in our country that we might have not known before. This course allowed me to open my eyes as to how other communities and people's life were and adapting to this country. And it gave me a whole nother perspective to other cultures and communities. Additionally, it's a very interactive and collaborative class with benefits such as peer collaboration and community building, as well as the fact that the information presented in the course makes students feel more represented. Many people here at Mountain View High School are part of small minorities and feel unseen. But the topics shown in ethnic studies make them feel more represented, as well as feeling like they're comfortable talking about their identity so that others can learn about them. And that is why I believe ethnic studies should be a mandatory one-year class for freshmen. Thank you.
Next, we have Alyssa Burmeister.
Hi there. I'm Elisa Burmeister. I'm an ethnic studies teacher at Mountain View High School. Proud mama of a sophomore. And this is my 24th year of teaching, 17th year in the district here. I am a lover of all things 9th grade and have had 9th graders my entire career. I come to you with a decent amount of data points here, just in case we are finding ourselves looking to see, is this course improving anything for our students? How are they benefiting? So because 9th grade social studies has been a heterogeneous class for the last 20 years, Here at MVHS, our year-long course has proven essential for the students to understand each other and learn from each other. Students are coming from many different feeder schools, private schools, and out-of-district schools. And this is one of only 2 courses that accomplishes this heterogeneous process, including freshman English. Throughout the year, ethnic studies practices and establishes our 6 major principles: self-knowledge, empathy, community, inquiry, solidarity, and transformation. Ethnic studies has proven to improve the literacy skills of students as we provide initial scaffolding at the beginning of the year and increase our rigor throughout the year. These are skills we taught in world studies when it was a year-long course, and it was required as well for those reasons in the 9th grade. We have continued to fine-tune since I started here in 2009 and continue to prioritize academic writing, critical thinking, and speaking and listening, these being our main categories for assessing. Through our constructing meaning training these last 3 years, we have focused on argumentative skills as our district shared student outcomes, recognizing the claim evidence reasoning is a skill required across all tested disciplines, practicing the language demands that state assessments embedded within our performance tasks. We are emphasizing the importance of teaching students the academic language and reasoning skills with the SBAC language in mind, which is needed to demonstrate proficiency on statewide assessments. As we have been using literacy strategies and in keeping with the MVHS and district goals of increasing literacy, the assessment data from last year shows increased proficiency across the board. For example, from the 2024 SBAC data dashboard, ELA, in language arts for our testers, we increased our scores by 7.5 points. In math, by 16.9 points. English language and English learner progress, an increase of 4.6%. College and career readiness, increase of 2.2%. All across the board increases, especially our Latinx population. Between 24 and 25 school years, they have increased their performance task scores as well. On organization and purpose from a 1.6 to a 2. In evidence and elaboration from a 1.6 to a 2. Years ago, and I continue to do this at the end of the school year, I get anonymous feedback and an anonymous survey from my students, and all have been presented with the question of, what is your favorite part of ethnic studies? Can I say one of them?
I think you can share it with the board just to make sure we keep the same time for everybody.
Fast. When presented with the question, what has been your favorite part of our ethnic studies class this year? Students have said,
Yeah, you can share it via written form.
oh, sure, this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Julie Yick.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Volta. My name is Dr. Julie Yick, and I am one of the Ethnic Studies teacher leaders in MVLA. I've taught social studies in the district since 2012, and this is my 4th year of teaching ethnic studies. Today, I would like to share 2 main points. 1, how the year-long ethnic studies class prepares students to be academically successful, and 2, why the year-long ethnic studies course is the most beneficial option. To begin, our year-long ethnic studies class prepares students to develop and strengthen the essential academic skills of critical thinking, reading, writing, and public speaking that will help them throughout their 4 years of high school. The year-long class has a clear progression, and each unit builds upon the previous one in terms of content and academic skills. Our district has required a year-long social studies course in the 9th grade for over 20 years because it is so beneficial for students and lays the foundation for students to be prepared for their future college prep and AP social studies courses. If we eliminate an entire semester of ethnic studies, students will be less academically prepared. It's also important to consider data about student achievement. Since the first year of requiring all freshmen to take ethnic studies, we have seen a significant increase in enrollment in AP history courses at Mountain View High School during their sophomore and junior years. For example, over the last 3 years, we've seen an increase in enrollment in AP World History. 3 years ago, 64 students took the AP World History exam. This number increased to 187 students last year. Our passing rates are consistently over 90%, while the national average is a 64% pass rate. Secondly, continuing our year-long ethnic studies course is the most beneficial option. As the board considers 4 different options, I would like to point out why the year-long course is the most beneficial option and describe some drawbacks of the other options. If the district chooses to pair 1 semester of ethnic studies with 1 semester of health, students will miss out on an entire semester of instruction in social studies and will have less experience with primary source analysis, historical thinking skills, and analytical writing. Students will be less academically prepared for their future social studies courses. If the district decides to eliminate 1 semester of ethnic studies and replace it with another social studies elective, this would involve tremendous amounts of work to entirely redesign the ethnic studies course while simultaneously creating a completely new social studies course. It would take time to determine which elective we would create, then we would need course approval and to develop an entirely new curriculum. Similarly, if the district decides to eliminate the semester of ethnic studies and pair it with world studies, we would need to redesign both courses. Finally, it seems unwise to eliminate the graduation requirement for ethnic studies when the course is listed as a requirement by the California Department of Education. While it's an unfunded mandate, the state could decide to provide funding in the future, which would then require MVLA to reinstate the course. It is more prudent to continue with our year-long ethnic studies course. Thank you.
Next, we have Ariana Bautista Santiago.
Good evening. My name is Ariana Bautista Santiago. I'm a junior at Mountain View High School who has taken ethnic studies in addition to being part of the AVID program. I think it's important for all students to learn about different ethnic communities and the challenges they face in the United States because it can help them understand their heritage and identity. My concerns around changing the length of the course are most importantly the students and the teachers. As stated in the MVLA District Ethnic Studies curriculum section, students should be more aware of other ethnic groups because doing so will help them understand new aspects of history, but as well develop their reading, writing, speaking, research, and critical thinking skills. Students can also discover more parts about their identity, just like it did for me. Regarding the teachers, I'm more concerned about their jobs. Would these ethnic studies teachers lose part of their jobs? For them, how would a new system work? And after all, are they in favor of changing the ethnic studies course into a 1 semester class? Another concern I hadn't mentioned before was how ethnic studies is going to be like for future high school students, like my younger brother who is going to enter high school next year. As I read through the results from the survey about ethnic studies, I saw how students strongly agreed about the class being challenging, which I believe teachers should arrange the workload or even give time to complete the work in and out of class for students to better understand the work. My request is to continue having ethnic studies as a 1-year course and to not change it into a 1 semester class. Changing the course into a 1 semester course is going to be a challenge not only for the ethnic studies department and counselors who are the ones in charge of making schedules, but also for future students who are going to be attending either schools within the MVLA district. And as a Mexican American student at Mountain View High School, I hope you would give my request some thought. Thank you.
Next, we have Brooke Margin Hidney. Megan? Megan, sorry.
Daily. Hi, everybody. Thank you. My name is Brooke Megan Hinckley, and I'm blessed to be a social studies teacher at Mountain View High School. In the last meeting, I made a request for time for us to have the conversation about what we want students to know at the 9th and 10th grade. And I felt like there was some enthusiasm, right, around that idea. I've made formal requests for us to have that time as a department, and it hasn't happened yet. Timing is important because of the 4 proposals handed down to us. If we just follow those, it will limit us in terms of what we are able to teach students and when. If we backwards plan the form that the 9th grade year takes, then we'll not be able to have authentic dialogue about what we want students to know, because then we're going to be boxed in to one of these 4 proposals, and we can't look forward to what the content for the 10th grade, right, ought to cover and when. And I've heard the community concerns about what students could potentially miss, and having that conversation would allow us to be able to take in those concerns, right, to begin addressing them. We can offer a full year of social studies the 9th grade year that emphasizes the most meaningful, relevant, possible, positive content from ethnic studies, and begin incorporating the material from the 10th grade curriculum that dovetails with the histories of the communities that ethnic studies was designed to celebrate and highlight. So we can talk about Mexican and Haitian revolutions, impact of World War II, comparison of colonialism, just to get started. If we did that, we could return to a model where we have 1 semester of 10th grade history standards in the 10th grade, where we can cover the material we didn't address in the 9th grade year, and continue to offer, right, all the robust AP classes that students are super excited to take. With the foundation of the freshman year, we can be certain that students are prepared to have the skills they need to be successful regardless of their backgrounds coming into high school. And I want to move away from discussions, right, of ethnic studies being good or bad. To echo Marta, right, we need time to adapt, to reform, to improve, to incorporate all the feedback from you, from teachers, from community members, from parents, from students, to create a proposal that prioritizes what we want students to know and when, and work backwards so we don't let the form define the function. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Cindy Sidaris. Sidaris?
Hello, my name is Cindy Sedaris. I'm a parent of Los Altos alumni and a member of North County Citizens for Public Education. I'm here representing my group. And I just want to reiterate our request for maintaining ethnic studies as a year-long course required for graduation. Thank you.
Next, Isabella Marging.
Just give me 1 second. Our country is more of a salad bowl than it will ever be a melting pot. That concept comes from Carl N. Degler, a prominent American historian. While our country, and especially our community, is incredibly ethnically diverse, our identities are not blended into one as Americans. Ethnicity and race still play a huge role in our daily experiences, from the cultures we are immersed in to the very recent immigration policies and healthcare disparities. I wanted to call attention to this notion to stress the importance that our students understand the intersection between ethnic identities in American society and government. Ethnic studies does this, examining topics like the historical origins of systems of power and stereotypes, serving as a powerful tool to fight against ignorance. I am a current MVHS senior, meaning that I was in the last cohort before ethnic studies became a requirement. While I never took the course myself, I've seen snippets of it echoed in other MVHS courses. Take AP Language and Composition, where we examined institutionalized oppression of African Americans with the prison industrial complex, and the war on drugs, providing historical lenses that enhanced our writing. Then in AP US History, we found nuance in historical events such as the Revolutionary War and World War II when examining the perspectives of different ethnic groups. I can only imagine how better served I would have been with a full year of ethnic studies in these AP courses. As a history course, ethnic studies standardizes writing, argumentation, and source analysis for our class of freshmen who come from various middle schools and educational backgrounds. In fact, serving as a freshman avid tutor last year, I noticed that it took both semesters for students to comfortably grasp these critical skills, whether in Socratic seminars or in essays. Looking at the course itself, ethnic studies uniquely educates and equips MVLA students to navigate a world that is far from race blind, making it one of the most important classes for students to take here in high school. That is why I firmly believe that it is critical for us to have a year-long ethnic studies course, as it would be doing a service to our students' future academically and beyond. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Carl Kramer.
Hi, I'm Carl Kramer. I represent the Democrats for Public Education, the arm of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party that watches what happens in education in the county. I want to first say I'm a boomer. And I want to apologize to everyone here because my generation never learned how to live in a multi-ethnic democracy. Never did. I'm a highly educated white guy. And in my high school and in my college, I learned almost nothing about the African-American experience beyond the Emancipation Proclamation. Didn't learn about Jim Crow, didn't learn about Tulsa, didn't learn about slavery by another name, nothing. I lived 20 miles from a reservation. I learned nothing about Native American experience in America, zero. I learned nothing about Asians in America until I met my wife, whose parents spent 4 years in an internment camp. How is it that now a 65-year-old guy in America could go through life and not learn all those things about all the other Americans that we have in our country? Why is that important here? Because we have an incredibly diverse population. 65% of the students are not white. Their experiences matter. And I hope that you take it as seriously as it needs to be taken, because I think a large part of what's wrong with our country right now is my generation never learned how to live in a multicultural democracy.
Next we have Amnon Levy. There's two there. It's an extra one. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Amnon Levy. I'm a parent, I'm resident. I'm a licensed behavioral therapist working with kids with autism. I'm here to say that ethnic study is not bad, but the way it's being taught is problematic. What you're holding in front of you is the wheel of power, which is a slide from Los Altos High ethnic study. And in this wheel of power, a kid 15 years old is requested to identify themselves and put themselves finger pointing of how their identity look like. And within the wheel, we have a ranking of how am I ranking myself on the mental health, neurodivergent, how am I doing on the autism scale, what's my sexuality, what's my gender. Is that appropriate for any high schooler? I don't think so. I think we're pushing the kids here to disclose personal information. I myself am a gay person, gay guy. I came out when I was 28. I think if somebody asked me when I'm 15, what's my identity, what's my gender orientation, I think it's crossing the board. So you may say, well, this is a slide, we can pick it up. The answer is no, you can't. The board doesn't have the power. I talked to LASD. I talked to Santa Clara Board of Education. We don't have power on that. Teacher can put whatever they want in the material. I know that I was in Scobie and teacher came up to the podium and proudly said, we can do whatever we want And we're not required to give you the material. We ask as parents from Mountain View High, from Los Altos High, give us the material. And we got none. So that's my problem. Think about this. If you're a parent, would you like your chubby kid to be asked in a class where you're ranking himself with his body size? Would you feel comfortable with that? I'm working, as I said, with autistic kids. Last thing they want is to be put out in front of the class. So I think it's a terrible idea to present this and to teach this to the kids. So given no control, we don't have control on the material. As I said, I recommend that you keep this elective and help the parents make the decision whether the kids want to be part of it or not. That's going to one comment. My kids go to St. Francis, they're older kids, and they teach this, and it's elective. I talked to the doctor who teaches this and say, I understand the material is problematic. It can be taught in clean and unbiased way. Thank you.
And next we have Kiyoshi Taylor.
Hello, board. So I'm coming to you as someone who has been working with this awesome community for years to get this ethnic studies off the ground. You guys finally have a course that is rooted in community. Like that's what it's about. It's about community. It's about building each other up. It's about understanding your neighbor. It's about building empathy. And as someone who went to MVLA schools, I know there wasn't a lot of it. I know there wasn't a lot of understanding. And to see this course actually being taught and being around some of the kids who've taken it is absolutely mind-boggling because it's something I've rarely ever seen here in the school district and in this community. And I mean, I don't know many other courses that are bringing kids here to actually stand up for what they believe in and speak up and show that they actually finally feel seen, right? That's something that's rare, especially in today's school. So on formerly Columbus Day, now Indigenous Peoples Day, I'm begging you guys, don't put us back in chains. Don't put our history back in chains. Don't put our future education in chains. Because by getting rid of this course, by shortening it, that's what you're doing. We want critical thinkers. We want an engaged community. This course is finally helping kids do that, seeing the power they have within themselves. So don't take it away. Don't chain up our future. Don't hide what we have finally built. I mean, when I was in school, only thing we were was slaves. And then MLK apparently fixed everything. This is the first time people are actually being seen for what they are and how we all got here. And it's a beautiful thing. And it saddens me to not only have to come back for all these years to beg you guys to see the students, but also just to support the teachers that I feel like this board has not done a good job of. You coddle to other people in the community, but when they attack the teachers, I feel like you guys have not been there. And that saddens me. And these teachers are absolutely amazing and they don't deserve a lot of what they went through and are going through. And they don't have the support other than from people in this community that are there for the late nights and all that when they're having these struggles and trying to support them any way we can by like showing up. Despite us all having work, we're here to support them. So support the teachers, support the students, support this community, keep ethnic studies.
Next, we have Ella Malouf.
Hello, hello. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, but before we get too excited that I won't take up the full 3 minutes, I just encourage you not to confuse the brevity of my words with a lack of importance or care on this matter. My name's Ella Malouf. I'm a proud graduate of Los Altos High class of 2020, and I'm an unequivocal supporter of keeping ethnic studies as a full year-long requirement for freshmen. Thanks.
Next, we have Tony Moose.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tony Mose, and I am a parent of 4 Los Altos High School graduates. And I am also a community member who is deeply dedicated to ensuring that ethnic studies continues as a year-long program. During my first 13 formative years, I was fortunate enough to be the daughter of a diplomat. I lived in 6 different countries, and through that experience, I learned about people from other parts of the world. I learned about people from different ethnic and racial groups, and I lived that. My 4 Black Jewish children growing up in this community did not. And it is only with ethnic studies that children such as mine and other children of other ethnic and racial groups are seen, are represented, are learned about. And in a community where, as we all know, the demographics are shifting, where most people in this country will not be white, we need to make sure that everyone learns about the people who live, work, play around them. So I urge the board to keep ethnic studies as a year-long program so that all community members are seen and learned about. My children learned, as Kiyoshi said, there was slavery, there was emancipation, MLK came along, solved everything, and we're now in this utopia, which we all know is not the case. So we need to make sure that all children continue to learn about those who are around them, and they can engage in conversation that is educational, that is critical, and that is important in order to make sure that the future of this country is not what the past was. Thank you.
Next, we have Stephen Kale.
Good evening. I'm Steve Kale, and I teach Avid English at Mountain View High School. And I'm here to speak in support of keeping ethnic studies a full year course. We live in a Santa Clara County that is more diverse than ever. Our students will probably live in multicultural neighborhoods as adults. They'll work in companies of multi-ethnic employees. They'll possibly even commit themselves in romantic relationships to someone of a different ethnic culture. Our students also live in a time in American history where they're thrust into a digital world in which they're disinformed and misinformed, where they're exhorted to look down upon people who might be different from themselves. It falls then upon schools to be the welcoming place where young Americans can learn to understand, appreciate, support, and nurture ethnic differences. Public schools uphold community decency, a value that our ethnic studies course curriculum functions to elevate. Given that the top reason that professionals lose their jobs is still the inability to work well with others, students will need the wisdom that schools can provide on how to recognize and appreciate the various value sets, traditions, and perspectives they will find in the workplace. In piloting ethnic studies, our school district has been in the vanguard of teaching mutual respect for the dimensions of our community that contribute to the community's cultural richness. As a public high school teacher of more than 40 years, I've been proud to work in a district that was one of the first in the state to roll out the curriculum for an ethnic studies course. Ethnic studies classes don't just equip students with detailed knowledge about a wide array of Americans, but also with the wisdom to thrive in a multicultural society. It's arguably the most important course our students find in our district course catalog. At a time when the character of our nation is challenged each day in politics and in business, it helps those of us who have the privilege of working here to know that our institution offers students a rich curriculum that's so devoted to preserving humanity in the humanities and in our students. Political headwinds can blow heavily upon school leaders, but those influences should only serve to make honorable public servants even more dedicated to standing by that which is worthwhile and essential to a democratic society, mutual respect for divergent perspectives. The Latin phrase e pluribus unum, of the many one, shouldn't just decorate our currency. Thank you.
Next, we have Keenan Moose.
You'll like this, Yash. Good morning, y'all. Good to see everyone this evening. Thanks for having me here. It's been a while since I've seen some of y'all, but I mean, it's not good to be back, but I am back. Yeah, I graduated in 2016 from Los Altos High School. I have 3 younger siblings who all did the same. And we spent a good part of 2020, 2021 talking about all the traumas of going through this school district. The traumas that happened from not having a community, from not learning about each other in classes, and the way that students would come directly at us and say some of the most outlandish things because the only things they knew about us were what they represented. Go pick cotton. Go back to Africa. Day after day after day. This class and all the work that we put in, the teachers put in, the community put in, to have a full year class, we had students coming up to us day after day talking about the impacts that they're seeing, how amazing it is to see themselves and see others in class. I'm also fortunate in my day job, I work with about 3,000 kids a year, 9 through 12 or K through 12 for some of it. And a lot of it has to do with media literacy, understanding sources, and hopefully not using ChatGPT. But as we're going through it, again, we're working at charter schools, private schools, as well as public schools like these. And the difference we see with the students who have gone through ethnic studies to understanding and going through who wrote the source, where is this coming from? How do I devolve this? What is the point they're trying to make? How can I take the information out of this and digest it well? The ones who have gone through the full year of ethnic studies here have a big leg up on so many other students in so many other schools. And just as we got this huge class going, it seems like we're calling it into a question again. So I really urge y'all, look at what the students have been coming, because last time you heard poetry, we heard singing, we had a whole class of students here and when we got it approved. And now we're here again, begging again, we matter, see us, please treat us as humans. Please allow us to be educated about each other. Step up, let's do this. We're here to support y'all. Let's make this happen. Let's keep it a full year requirement. Thank you.
Next, we have Aaron Temery.
Good evening. My name is Aran Tamari, and I'm the parent of 2 twin 9th grade students at Los Altos High School. This is my first board meeting as an MVLA parent, and I want to start by expressing my gratitude for this district. We met all of our twins teachers back during back to school night, and we were really impressed. Our kids really like their teachers. They are caring, inspiring, and make Los Altos High School a wonderful place to learn. Over the past 2 months, I followed what my kids are learning in this ethnic studies class. Most lessons have focused on defining identity, making collages and watching short YouTube videos followed by brief reflections. While these activities can spark awareness, they do not reflect the level of academic rigor expected in a high school social science course. The topics are being taught, in my opinion, in a superficial way that oversimplifies complex human experiences, rather than helping students analyze and understand them more deeply. And I'll give an example. In a lesson on Jewish identity, students were told, and I quote, "White supremacists continue to racialize Jews as non-whites. This was evident when the Unite the Right march in Charlottesville chanted, 'The Jews will not replace us,' with us referring to white Americans." This far-right anti-Semitism incident was the only example of anti-Semitism presented. There was no discussion of how anti-Semitism has existed for centuries in many forms: religious, racial, political, and even modern anti-Israeli hatred. When students see only one perspective, they lose the chance to understand how anti-Semitism evolves, adapts, and persists across time and ideology. Presenting just one side gives legitimacy to others, and that's not education, that's ideology. If even this topic, one of the least controversial topics, is taught so narrowly, it raises real concerns about the rest of the course. We have excellent, dedicated teachers in this district, but the content lacks academic depth and balance. I respectfully ask the board to reevaluate the curriculum, consider making the course elective, and restore world history as a required 9th grade class. Thank you for listening.
Next, we have Tal Shalom.
Hi, I'm Tal. I have kids in the district. There is a difference between good intention and good result. I believe our teacher and the board wants what's best for the student, but the district own survey shows that ethnic study is not achieving its goal. More than half of the students said the course was easier than English. Most said it should not be a full-year course. Most students reported that it didn't help them to feel connected, and their own history and culture were not represented. Students were not asked if they prefer it to be elective. I wonder why. Regarding the course material, it's clear that the class shouldn't be required. It has no textbooks, no state standard or framework. Students spend time watching YouTube videos with minimal reading and writing assignment. And much of the content focuses on social activism from a single political perspective. This is not academic rigor, and it's not inclusion. It's also concerning that the student can now graduate without learning world history, without studying the Enlightenment, the French and Industrial Revolution, or World War I or II. These events are the foundation of our modern world. And no, human geography does not cover this subject. That's not my perspective, it's a fact. So I ask the board, why force students to take a year-long course that lack rigors and is not required, not by the state, not by the college? My son wants to take both world history and human geography, but he can't because of ethnic studies. If ethnic study truly adds value, a student can still choose it. If not, they shouldn't be forced to. Let's give the student a choice instead of letting teacher decide for them. And I want to just read for you what my son got for the first lesson. Questionnaire. What's your political and social issue that you care about? How much economic power do you think your family have? How much political power do you think your family have? Do you feel like you have been experienced oppression in your life? If not, how come you avoided it? And I asked him if anyone talked to him about it. He said no, he felt really uncomfortable that he has to reveal all this information in the first day of school. Thank you.
Next, we have Lickfin. Right? Lickfin? Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name's Lick Bin. As a parent with a 9th grader taking the required ethnic studies this year instead of world history, I have to say this district has a completely upside down priority. World history is such an important building block for any student. It provides essential context for understanding the world in which we live in and current events. Replacing it with ethnic studies leaves our students without the foundations needed to be informed world citizens. It also makes them ill-prepared for AP and college-level history courses. When I ask my student, how's ethnic studies? The answer I got is, it's boring. Especially in a world of social media and too much misinformation, it is ever more urgent that we equip our students with basic historical facts. So please, we need to restore world history as a required course in this district while keeping ethnic studies as an elective. Thank you.
Next, we have Candida Diar or Diap. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Candida Diaz. This is my third year teaching ethnic studies at Los Altos High School. I believe that this year-long ethnic studies course prepares students academically. They learn historical thinking skills, they engage in academic conversation, they're writing, but most importantly, they are learning empathy and are building connection with students from different backgrounds. Our school communities are extremely diverse, and students in this class are seeing themselves reflected in this curriculum sometimes for the first time, where they don't in their other classes. As was already mentioned, as teachers, we are constantly making changes to our curriculum. If you are looking to make changes to this ethnic studies curriculum, that's great. We are willing to make changes. We just need to know what kind of changes you'd like us to make, what you'd like added, what you'd like modified, and we'll do it. And we're happy to work together to make those changes. But I don't think we need to throw away what I believe is a fabulous course for our students. This class prepares students who go on to take HGAP and AP European History their sophomore years. I am now teaching students who I had freshman year as ethnic studies students in their junior year as an AP US History teacher. I am now seeing the fruit of our collective labor as our social studies teachers. These students are very well prepared for their social studies classes. Our students are excelling academically on their AP tests, but it's not just that. They are excellent human beings. They are recalling content from their ethnic studies classes when they're discussing topics in our US history class. But I digress. I have parents who come to back to school night and they hear about our curriculum and they stay after and they tell me, oh, I wish I had this class when I was in high school. I have parents sending me emails saying that my child says this is their favorite class. They're learning about topics that touch them and lead them to reflect in lots of different ways. So again, if you want to make changes, that's great. We make changes all the time in our curriculum. Just let us know what you'd like to be changed and we're happy to do that. Thank you.
Next, we have Ilana Cohen.
Hi, my name is Alana Cohen, and my students will be going to Mountain View High School in the future. There seems to be some misconception that arguing for student choice means arguing against or being anti-ethnic studies. Creating and enforcing cumbersome graduation requirements and being the only local school to do so doesn't mean being anti-ethnic studies. It just doesn't make sense. If we listen to the thousands of students who took the district survey, which was ordered by this board, we see that 60% said that they didn't learn about their identity and culture, 55% said that the class was not academically rigorous, and 60% said that the workload was not appropriate. Students should just be given the option to focus on academic skills, not just empathy. The student surveys were clear that the majority of students did not want a one-year ethnic studies class. This doesn't mean being against ethnic studies, it just means giving students a choice to take ethnic studies, a choice to take history, a choice to make decisions about their academic future. Why are we the only district to add unnecessary burdensome requirements? Why are we the only district not to offer non-AP classes that delve into Greek and Roman history, delve into World War I or World War II? MVLA has a long history of one semester social science classes. These are not new electives, they're not new classes, and this is something that MVLA has been very proud of. Why does that pride, those objectives change suddenly only when it comes to ethnic studies? Many here have expressed the need for multicultural education. I don't disagree, it is very needed, but that's not what we find in the MVLA curriculum, and that's not what the student surveys show. So please give our students a choice and make this a one semester elective.
Next, we have Ron Laffer. Thank you.
So I'm a father to two ninth graders. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I don't think there's a debate about the importance of ethnic studies. And the reason is it has a tremendous mission statement. It's not really just about teaching critical thinking or public speaking or US history. It's aimed to change a students' perceptions and prepare them to be better members of our society. Such a mission reminds me of my own profession. I'm a medical doctor. And obviously, caring and the responsibility and giving medical service at the highest level is, core to what we do. And if you take a bunch of doctors and you ask them to talk, they'll flush you with righteousness about the mission to deliver care. But you know what's the one factor that actually guarantees the doctors do perform at their best? Giving patients the options of going to another doctor. If you're the only doctor in town and everybody has to march through your clinic, all of a sudden you're not keeping up with the literature as much. And I think some of the statistics that I heard today about students giving feedback about the course really worries me. Because having ethnic studies on the curriculum is a tremendous responsibility. So how can we guarantee that it's really given in the most effective way, more custom way, rather than a cookie cutter approach, giving the students a choice? I think if we really want the teachers to do the best they can, and I know excellence is a touchy concept in education, but we need to offer it as an elective. And if the students, as presented by people, are so smart and they make excellent choices, and so many go and take world history later on, they will know to pick ethnic studies because they will recognize that it's important if it's delivered properly to them. And how do we guarantee this? When they don't have to take it. Because once you march them through the class, teachers can talk about a student that says, it's my favorite class. But if 60% are critical and they are testifying to a case study, this reminds me of my own medical colleagues. That's not the way to go. So I think if the board really believes in the importance of ethnic studies and you want to set an example to the whole county, start by making it an elective and watch that elective very closely and see how the teachers do their utmost best. I mean, in essence, if you care about that societal change, this should be the best taught course in the entire system. I don't think it's there yet. And just relying on statements and good intentions just doesn't cut it. It's presented in so many areas. Competition breeds excellence. Thank you.
Next, we have Ravi Hermani.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for dedicating all your time to this education. We have a son in 10th grade and a daughter in 7th grade, and we've been here for 13 years and level staffers. So I believe that world history should be restored as a required course, and ethnic studies should be made as an elective course. Most districts across California have done this, and I hope that MVLA can think about this as well. 3 points for consideration. I think it's important to align MVLA standards with university expectations. Ethnic studies is not a UC or CSU mandate. And by removing world history as a required course, MVLA is creating our students a disservice. They fall behind their peers and other students from other school districts. Number 2, eliminating world history creates a knowledge gap. World history provides essential academic skills and a perspective, whether it be from how societies rise and fall, how ideas and innovations spread, world wars, technology and social transformations, and how to connect the dots between the past and the present. And lastly, for ethnic studies, in whatever form it's taught, whether it's an elective, I urge the board to reevaluate, placing some content and structure, a little more vigor about the guidelines that are placed. Thank you.
Next, we have Marina Durgan.
Hello, thank you for having all of us and giving us the opportunity to speak. So I would like to kind of put my vote in for restoring world history and really limiting ethnic studies to 1 semester. When I listen to the proponents of ethnic studies, the claims are made that this class is amazing, but we don't have any objective evidence from our students to support that. The students find it less rigorous than English. Kids do not feel represented in that class. And the question that had to do with safety in the class had a sharp drop-off in responses, which makes you question why the students did not answer that question. And we're the only district south of San Francisco, basically on the peninsula and South Bay, to require 1 year of ethnic studies. The vast majority of school districts are making it a one-semester elective, with only one other district making it a requirement for 1 semester. I understand that a lot of work has been put into this class, and I'm not saying we should scratch it altogether. It can remain as an elective and be closely watched. But our students need options, and they need the academic rigor of world history to make them world citizens. A lot of topics of ethnic studies can and are covered in AP language, US history, and other courses. And honestly, if you look at the state mandate, it does not require a separate class. Those topics can be incorporated into other classes and covered. So I urge you to make ethnic studies an elective and bring world history back for academic rigor and academic options for our children. Thank you.
Next, we have Maria Wong.
I'm impressed by how proud Mountain View Los Altos schools with the ethnic studies program. I heard empathy, I heard diversity, yet anti-Semitism happened. You failed your own ethnic studies program. Let's give it up, call it baloney studies. When anti-Semitism happened, it's not ethnic studies. Let's be transparent. Ethnic studies has shifted from education to indoctrination. Its main focus has become promoting social activism, aligned with only one political viewpoint. Many teachers now treat it as their mission to shape students' values and beliefs rather than to teach critical thinking or objective history. There's very little actual history being taught. I've never seen a video or reading that presents a real alternative or opposing perspective. For example, not a single piece from someone like Charlie Kirk or anyone who thinks differently would ever be considered as a class material. Why? This is not the purpose of public education in a democratic country. The board needs to understand that many parents hold different political views and work hard to raise their children with their own values. Schools should not override that by promoting ideology instead of focusing on math, science, and other subjects that prepare students for real life. If you truly stand for inclusion and want what's best for all students, make ethnic studies an elective. World history provides students with the foundation to understand how societies and ideas have shaped our world. It builds essential context to critical thinking, cultural understanding, and academic success. Colleges across the nation recognize world history as a core subject, while ethnic studies, though valuable, is not required for college admission. Replacing world history with a politically framed course risks limiting our students' global perspective and could disadvantage them compared to students in other districts. Please keep world history as a graduation requirement and offer ethnic studies as elective. This ensures both academic strength and students' choice. Thank you.
Next, we have Camila Armeda. Yes, if we can keep the audience, please keep it down so that the board can hear all the public comments being presented.
Something I've consistently heard this year in U.S. history is that without representation, there is no power. Because of this, I wholeheartedly believe ethnic studies must remain a 2-semester course, since without it,
students of color such as myself lose representation, understanding, and the power to take action. These serious topics cannot be taught efficiently in a single school semester, as everything covered in 1 year is crucial for us to form our own opinions and learn more about the atrocities of the United States and even its beautiful history. In my freshman year, we learned countless subjects in ethnic studies, all of which were important things one should learn about across 2 semesters. This includes forms of oppression and segregation against minorities, police brutality, colonization, hate crimes against minority communities, to the appreciation of all cultures and racial injustices that have occurred in the United States. This knowledge has helped me and my peers to better understand ourselves, our culture, United States culture, and that of ours and others' ancestors. Without an extra semester of access to this highly useful knowledge, I would not be able to acknowledge the injustices that I have witnessed in the news and in my very own community to this day. Currently, there are multiple ICE raids going on around the United States in which these very people we learn about are being treated as vermin that must leave this country. This has been seen before and will continue to happen again in the future. By looking at the past, we can assess the future and what can happen again. Turning this class into a semester-long class would set forth a path for the young people of America to be highly uneducated about what is happening around them, how it will affect them, and what they can do to stop it. The same thing can be seen with the Ethnic Studies course when we covered the Little Rock Nine and Mendes versus Westminster, which both fought forms of oppression against 2 different communities, the Black and the Hispanic community. Both of these movements were successful in achieving greater things for all people of color. And by learning this, we were able to learn that we too can do something if we feel the need to. As I stated before, there are multiple ICE raids going on around the country, even in our very own communities, and multiple forms of oppression and other forms of media suppression, so much so that it feels like we are living in a dictatorship. By eliminating a second semester of this class, we would severely uneducate the next generation so that they are not able to realize what the red flags are and when to step in, which is something no democracy should want or need. As for myself, this class has made me realize to appreciate all cultures, appreciate the stolen land that I live on, the sacrifices countless have made to improve conditions for further generations, and when to pick up on the red flags in our country. Learning more about my Mexican heritage, culture, and other important Mexican figures and history has helped me to better understand myself, my background, and why we need more representation. Without this class, none of this would have been possible. Many other peers feel likewise. Everyone has a voice, and it is important to use it, even in hard times like these. Ethnic Studies provides students in the MVLA school district resources to understand the past, the strength to face the present, and the hope to change the future. We must keep it a 2-semester-long course, not only for the sake of my generation, but for those who walk these halls after us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have Janine Valadez.
Whoa. Great. Thank you. My name is Janine Valadez. I am a library commissioner for the city of Los Altos, but I'm here in a personal capacity. I'm going to start off the cuff a little bit. I'm going to one-up the early speaker, Mr. Kramer, when he talked about being a white man. He hadn't been taught a lot. Well, I was a Mexican, and I was raised in a very white city, and I wasn't taught a lot either. All the way through Stanford, I started to become awakened, but it was not in my normal high-achieving classes. I was one of 3 women electrical engineers graduating from Stanford. I was definitely in a minority. I was also an athlete for the school, a varsity athlete, and yet it took my other kinds of courses to teach me about who I was, about my heritage, about others' heritages, and about the differences. And also to put a different lens on the history, because even though I was an engineer, I was a history buff and also a literature buff, and to look at it through a different lens. At the end of the day, there was another previous speaker that talked about the appropriateness of asking a student to identify themselves on the wheel of power. I'm personally not familiar with that wheel, but I think today's kids, they feel more proud about who they are and of their differences. And if going through that process teaches them how to pronounce themselves, perhaps that changes over time, but they learn the language, they feel at ease with the language. They understand that these differences are good
not bad. The fact that elders may think that's stigmatizing or personal information itself should reveal to you that this is a new generation, and I love that new generation. I wish I had been part of that generation. I'm now pushing 70. So, you know, I just feel that this ethnic studies course is not just for those of color, it is for them, but also for others so that they learn about everybody. The most important thing to me, though, is that this course seems to be teaching kids how to speak up, speak out, ask questions. And if a course or a set of courses does that, it's going to set them up for success regardless of the course of study they take in the future, whether it's history, whether it's technical, whether it's literature. Their world history experience would be better after they took this class, so that they learn how to ask the questions to frame the history they're being taught in a more critical way, to understand who wrote that history, because we all know that history is written. It's not necessarily experienced, and the experience can be very different when what is written and taught. So by teaching kids, you will get better students. And finally, I'd like everybody to note that the adults that are speaking against this course, where are their kids? Why aren't they speaking up? And yet I see a lot of kids that are supporting this course here today. Thank you.
Next, we have Niraj Kulkarni.
Before you advocate for comprehensive education, we expect the board not make this course mandatory unless we include Hindu studies in the curriculum and integrate with information and framework. Underrepresentation or misrepresentation of culture carries the risk of falling into stereotypes and creating more harm to people. Culture and practice, many of them live in our community. Despite the rich history and its significant influence on the world philosophy, arts, science, and culture, Hindus and Hinduism are often underrepresented or oversimplified, or sometimes even degraded. It is degraded in educational settings. In Hindu, excluding Hindus from the ethnic studies and making this course mandatory shows exclusion, and it does not align with the diversity and inclusion principles followed by our city and school districts. Thank you.
Next, we have Lucy Wang.
Hi, my name is Lucy. I'm here to represent my son, who is ninth grader. He is at water polo practice. He just want me to come and urge the board to consider making ethnic study an elective. And the reason for that is because he said just one simple stat: tell every adult in the room that it takes him 30 minutes to absorb the content that's been taught since the school started 2 months ago. So thank you for considering his request, and we'll be back again and again and again to voice on behalf of students. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Satish. So, Satish? No. Okay.
Just brought up here. You brought it up.
No. Okay. Okay, so I think that concludes the public comment.
Well,
it is, yes.
Press the button. We're supposed to go into closed session. I suggest that we conduct our closed session on our agenda at the end of the regular meeting, so that would give us until 7 o'clock. to begin our actual discussion on this topic. If we can, first of all, thank you to everyone that spoke. We don't comment on public comments. So we'll just move into this. Bob, if you could put up that sort of discussion format. Since the board wanted to look at this, we've had a student survey. We've heard from department chairs. Tonight we have Eric Heiken and Anna Pugh, ethnic studies teachers, if you want to ask specific questions, along with Terry Fott, our associate superintendent. In framing this discussion without saying, I want this, I want that, I wanted to start by looking at social studies as an actual discipline. Prior to ethnic studies, students in MVLA were required to pass 35 credits of social studies. After ethnic studies, that became 40. The state minimum is 30. And if you scroll down, you could see the actual requirements. Now, there's one course that's, oh, there it is. It is on there, Individual and Social Global Perspectives. I don't know if your handout has that, but that was the graduation requirements for the class of 2026 and before. One of our speakers talked about it being a graduation requirement for 20 plus years. And for the class of 2026, students did take world history as freshmen. They were required to take an individual social global perspectives class sophomore year, U.S. history junior, and government econ senior year. Starting with the class of 2026 or 27 and beyond, world history moved to sophomore year, and ethnic studies became the freshman required course. So wanted to start off this discussion with the board as far as what you thought was, what you think is the appropriate number of semesters that a student should be focused on social studies, the study of human interactions, history, sociology, psychology, anthropology. Those are many of the humanities.
Do we have anyone who would like to start? Catherine?
Well, I could start, but I wasn't thinking of addressing it in this order, but so what is individual and social preparation? What is that class now?
That class no longer exists because students are taking world studies or one of the AP courses sophomore year.
So there was 35 credits. See, this one paper that we have in front of us
Yeah, that
is missing the one.
That last line.
I'm going, this doesn't add up. Okay. And that is 5 credits. Well, I'm looking at the thing one that Terry sent me that says UC CSU A to G requirements have 2 years of history, social science, including one of world and one of US. Is that what they require?
For UCs, the minimum required for high school graduation, the state of California, is 3 years. That's 2 years of history and government and econ.
It makes no sense to me that the CSUs would require less than the state, but for high school graduation. So that's where it's kind of confusing to get the 2 piles of requirements next to each other. Okay, that's the 3. Okay. I think that if we call ethnic studies the individual and global perspective, that fits very well into this model. And I think everyone, and civics and economics are included in this category too, right? And I don't think there's any argument of keeping those. So I think the only argument or the only discussion has been between world history and ethnic studies and the value of ethnic studies or not. And I personally feel ethnic studies is a very valuable class for many of the reasons stated, and as such should be a requirement in some form. I mean, we can, and people are, quibble over whether it's a year or semester, but I feel it's an important topic to be included in some form as a requirement.
And that's why I wanted to make sure that we focused on what do we as a district, as a board, want to focus on in terms of the discipline for our students. Do we want our students to have 4 years of social studies or 3.5 years or 3 years?
Well, no, I would rather go by what topics, which is some sort of world history, some sort of US history, and ethnic studies, which would fit in that last category.
If you scroll down, it's actually in the lower one, which is what our current, it's ethnic studies, 10 credits, freshman year, world history, sophomore year, US history, junior year, and government and economics.
Yeah.
Senior year.
But like I said, I can see people disagreeing on whether there'd be, I can't agree. I personally feel we should have ethnic studies at least in some form.
Okay.
And these other things too. Rita?
I agree with Catherine. I agree with Catherine. I support keeping ethnic studies as a year-long graduation requirement for 6 reasons. First, curriculum content. Ethnic studies is a U.S. history class for freshmen that focuses on American historical experiences, not current international events. The units connect to all students' experiences. The identity unit specifically includes Asian, Latino, African, Native, and Jewish American experiences. The immigration unit addresses nativism, racism, xenophobia, and anti-Semitism that immigrants have historically faced and how immigrants have navigated these challenges. One aim is learning to pursue positive change through civic engagement. Second, the board approved this course after 5 meetings beginning in 2021 that included detailed review and discussion of each unit and community input from parent groups, student clubs, and community meetings. The course aligns with our board goal of cultivating a respectful, caring school climate that promotes wellness, inclusion, and self-expression, and supports our graduate profile of building diverse and collaborative relationships. The 64-page presentation and community outreach is still on the Ethnic Studies webpage, which you can review. Since then, the board has continued to receive updates on implementation, review survey results, and monitor student outcomes. Third, Ethnic Studies is now integrated into our social studies sequence, which we heard at the last board meeting, preparing students for the 10th grade World History, Culture, and Geography requirement mandated by California. Making ethnic studies an elective or reducing it to 1 semester would break the social studies sequence and require significant curriculum and staff restructuring. Fourth, our independent survey showed positive student outcomes. Students felt supported by teachers and classmates in expressing themselves, whatever their viewpoint. Teachers presented diverse perspectives and taught critical thinking skills. Additionally, 80% of freshman students learned about other cultures and identities, and 62% felt more understanding. We also heard tonight and in many other board meetings, direct feedback from students and families that this multicultural learning benefits all students. Fifth, 25% of our students are Latino. Latino students and families have told us that ethnic studies teaches them about their own history, builds confidence, and empowers them academically. And we also heard from Hispanic Latinos from tonight. And this is reflected in data, in increases in our A through G completion and AP enrollment. Sixth, I contacted the California State Department of Education, and staff confirmed that while the state mandate isn't currently being enforced due to funding, that possibility still exists. We'll have a new governor in 2027, and state priorities could shift. If ethnic studies becomes a state mandate in the future, and we've eliminated our graduation requirement, we may have laid off teachers we've trained in ethnic studies, and we've spent quite a bit on professional development. We would then need to hire and train new staff to meet the mandate. The board has spent a long time beginning developing our ethnic studies program in January 2021 to be prepared for a potential state mandate. Therefore, I support keeping ethnic studies as a year-long graduation requirement. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to go next?
I can go next. So I'm confused now. Do we talk about credits or do we share opinion about ethnic studies?
I was hoping that we talked about the skills and what we wanted with our students. 3 years or 4 years, we've jumped the gun a little bit. So why don't we just go to the options? There may be other options. These are just 6 that have identified from our teachers and from hearing from our community. So if you can just scroll down. Option A, status quo, possibly with some revisions. Option B, ethnic studies as an elective, whether it's a year or semester-long course. Option C1, mandate ethnic studies as a semester course, period. That would be 35 credits to graduate. Option C2 would be mandate ethnic studies as a semester course with an additional semester of social studies. That would mean that social studies would be a 40 credit requirement. Option D1, replace a year-long ethnic studies course with another year-long social studies course. Option D2 would replace a year-long ethnic studies with a semester-long optional other social studies course. And then some examples of what those other courses might be: pre-French Revolution world history, California history, intro to sociology, intro to psychology, world geography, African American studies, Latino studies, Asian American studies, anthropology, ancient civilization. Those are all courses that I saw in the UC approved course list from high schools across the state. And so are there any of those, and hoping to have options for you to take action on at the next meeting, are there any of those that as a group you can cross off your list that you don't think you want to even consider?
Sure. So I do not want to consider the current situation of having ethnic studies a year-long course, and I'll explain why, because I think it's very important.
Which one is that?
Option A. It's very important for the public to understand the logic. Some of you will not agree, some of you will agree. For as long as you understand the logic, that's what's important. The state requires 30 credits of, the state requires 30 credits of social studies course. By requiring ethnic studies as a year-long course, which by itself it's no longer required, AB 101 is no longer visible as a bill. It's not funded, it's dead. So this course is no longer required. That's a fact. It will be the only course that as a district we will choose to enforce, even though it's not required by the state or by any educational institution. either state or UC system. Why would we make that precedent on behalf of ethnic studies is a question that I'm asking myself, and I think everybody should ask themselves. If we do this for ethnic studies, what else are we going to introduce as a requirement for our students? Now, whether we offer options, that's a great thing. We often talk about giving students options. The second reason, most districts around us, Palo Alto, Los Gatos, Saratoga, San Jose, do not have this course as a year-long course. I do not believe that our students are doing better because they've been doing this for 2 years as a year-long course. They're not better, they're not worse than students in other districts. There is absolutely no causal proof that our students are benefiting from having a year-long ethnic studies course academically. I'll give you some examples, things that I have looked at. I've looked at the Stanford studies. There is a lot of controversy associated with it because it promised to deliver 1.4% and 1.4 increase in GPA. There is no such 1.4 increase in GPA at MVLA for students who have taken ethnic studies for a year in 9th grade. What I do see is that 66% of Latino students for whom ethnic studies, I heard the argument, is the most beneficial, are coming into the district at the lowest math level, Algebra 1. These students will need to succeed for 3 years out of 4 in order to meet the requirement to be even considered for 4-year college. They fail once, they only have 1 more year to recover, and then this is it. They cannot even apply to a college. Half of those students do not perform at this Algebra 1 level in satisfactory way. They don't show mastery, which by mastery I mean receiving an A or a B. Half of them receive C, D, and F in that course. Why would we not offer the students an opportunity to do something else with their time? Ethnic studies is not going to help them. As a result, I think going out of the way and requiring a 1-year course for ethnic study was disproportional response. Making it an elective course is a reasonable request from the community, but there are some thought that I have given and realized that I wanted to share with other board members. If it is an elective course, which it used to be, very few students were taking it before. It is not going to be the course that will experience diversity inside of the course. You will have select group of students who are interested in the content, and it will defeat the whole purpose of the course. And that's problematic. If the purpose of the course is to have diverse population of students, then you need to have all the students take the course. I hope that curriculum that is highly problematic, even though at MVLA relative to other districts, it's a lot better. But the wheel of power that you have seen, we've all experienced. I have 2 students in high school, so I personally know what I'm talking about. It is problematic. The reason that you don't see a single student coming here and advocating against ethnic studies because they don't feel safe. They're not going to come here and speak in front of all the teachers who have advocated for the ethnic studies and did not recognize any issues associated with it. And we did, a lot of community members have asked for changes to the course. Those changes have not occurred. With some exceptions, I am aware of some teachers who were open-minded and listened to the parents and did make local modifications to the course. So this is just some thoughts. So for me, option, to make it shorter, option 1 is not an option. Like I would not like to even consider that.
Are there?
I heard that it was an option for Theta. So
Yeah.
it's.
No, we have one person that wants to answer it, one that doesn't.
I do not want to consider option B because I do not feel it should be optional.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things that electives, and it is an actual technically called an elective. But it's a required elective. So I do not want it to be not required. I want it to be required as part of our social studies.
I agree with Catherine.
I agree with that too.
And whichever form, year or semester, I feel it should be required.
Let's keep it to, if there's a point and a counterpoint, we don't want to have a number of board members say what they would be, what they're in favor of, not in favor of, because this is not a vote. This is just a
Right.
discussion.
Okay. Well, I'm not in favor of B because I feel it should be required.
Is there somebody that would be in favor of B? Keeping ethnic studies, moving ethnic studies as an elective.
I think it will defeat the purpose of the course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said it would defeat the purpose of the course
Okay.
If it's an elective.
if it's an elective.
So, C1.
Let me chime in as well. So a couple of things. I actually was thinking about this decision, which is sort of quite complex with a lot of different opinions and stakeholders, etc. And I think, Eric, what you tried to do in the beginning of the meeting is to set some constraints that would reduce a set of options. So I spent some time thinking about what those constraints, in my opinion, are, and I sort of want to share, and this, I think, will bring us to some of the options that are viable, in my opinion. So the first thing I thought about, I think it's really important not to limit our students' flexibility, competitiveness, choices. Comparing our students to other districts, I really want to make sure that our graduates who should have access to the same range, same advanced courses, same elective opportunities as students in other districts. If you're taking away 5 units, 10 units of choices, that means that students in other districts will go deeper in a particular subject that they want to study, but our students will not be able to because they are required to take certain classes. So that choice and that flexibility in the resulting competitiveness is really important in my mind. Second, I also believe that ethnic studies is important for many reasons stated here. It's important that we have a class that helps students build inclusion, build empathy, brings everyone together socially to get to know each other and learn to appreciate. We talked a lot about the differences, but I actually think it's really important to appreciate both the similarities and the differences. At the end of the day, we are all people. And I'd like to see a class that strengthens our unity across the student body, brings everyone together, where people come out and say, we are all together here. We are one community. So that's the second aspect. The third one, I've talked a bunch about history in these meetings, so I'll continue to say that. That's my core belief. I really want to see us lose the grounding in history that gives students essential context for understanding the world. And yes, that is not the history of today. That is the history of the past. That is all the foundational concepts that brought democracy, brought this country to exist, many other countries as well. And so in my mind, having foundational history that's taught to every student in this district, whether that's an overview or focused on early eras, but it really builds a knowledge base that supports deeper engagement in later social studies and helps with all the critical thinking skills that we talked about today. In my mind, even having that foundation is really important before a class that talks about inclusion in unity, such as ethnic studies, because it provides a foundation to better understand it. These are the things that took place in the past, and now let's talk about sort of what was the impact on the different communities and what took place and how are we all different and similar and how can we come together. And the fourth is something that I think I see across different stakeholders, whether it's teachers or the community. I really don't want us to create instability in the district, whether it's staffing instability, I want the same number of amazing teachers, or scheduling instabilities, or community confidence. We've heard a lot of different opinions, and I want to make sure that folks are able to have the trust and confidence in this board to make the best decisions. And I think the best path is one that does honor the good work already done, maintain staffing balance, and really reflects the values of the diverse community. And so in my mind, when you put all of the together, I kind of hold two truths. Our students do need a class that helps them understand one another, but they also need choice, challenge, academic flexibility, and then there are all the constraints of the staffing. So to me, options of the C category are ones that can help with that. Potentially, yeah.
You're leaning towards the Cs.
The Cs are things I'd like to see as part of the options that we can vote on.
Well, I think we have to delete the Ds also if we think it's not going to be an elective, because they all say we're not going to have it at all.
Well, the Ds are no ethnic studies, but again, if we want the 35 or the 40 credits, what do we want it to look like? So if we don't, if you don't want to even discuss some of those alternatives, then yes, then we cross out the Ds.
Right. Yeah, I would think we would need to cross out the Ds and concentrate on what Thea mentioned as A and what Alex mentioned as C. It would be one or the other.
Is there any other comment about that or?
I think considering option A and the Cs makes sense. I agree with the fact that it should be a required course in order to really yield the benefits, some of which we heard tonight, and I think we have heard in previous board meetings. I think that as Alex, I'm trying to weigh everything that I've been hearing from different community members, parents, students, as well as the survey data that we reviewed back in May. So I think that for me, that means considering options A, C1, and C2.
All right. Any other comments?
I will just add that Alex's point of being neutral in terms of the social studies department would say you would need something else to put in the other semester if you picked a C, which would mean leaning more towards C2.
Then Terry would work with the teachers. It could be something that maybe we pick 2 or 3 semester-long courses. Maybe it could be something that is of interest of some of our teachers that they would like to teach or see in our schools. If it were a C2.
Right. So because it doesn't say what social studies course, it just says can.
No, that would be up to Ed
Additional.
Services working with social studies teachers to develop what those semester courses would look like.
I mean, on that,
So in the last board meeting, I thought that's the work that we actually did. There were multiple choices presented. Health, I believe, was one. History, some.
Well, health, what basically was C1
Oh, darn
is
it.
it
Sorry.
says just
That's right.
now
Okay.
what students took second semester. I'm sure there would be some
Mm-hmm.
classes that history, social science teachers would create as an elective for students. It could be other electives that other departments could develop for that other
Understood.
semester,
So-
or students would have an unscheduled period.
So C1 is one of the options from last time, and C2 is ethnic studies and world history option from last time.
C1 is 35 credits of social studies to graduate. C2 is 40 credits to graduate. And A is 40 credits to graduate of 40 credits of social studies to graduate.
and do we decide for C2 which are the social studies course, or do we leave it up to somebody
I
else?
think it would be great to actually have some input. And again, I felt like last time there was.
There's some listed
My
here.
recommendation is that Terry work with the teachers as what some of those courses. Obviously, courses need to be approved by the school board. But it's a whole, we could have a discussion, another study, if that's the way that we went, we could have a study session as far as some potential options that teachers might look at for our students, if that's the way they want it, if that's the way that this board goes.
C2 will just force 40 credits. Will remain at 40 credit required.
C2
or
would force
yeah.
40 credits.
Yeah.
By the way, don't many other people say, choice here in our district, but many other districts have more credits required to graduate than we do. So there is a lot of choice. It's just not necessarily required, just like we were talking about making ethnic studies required or not. It's a matter of we have lots of choice. We also have 7 periods and many schools do not. So we have plenty of opportunity for people to have choice and take things here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did have a comment on that one semester. Is that we commissioned an independent comprehensive student survey that asked thematically similar questions in multiple ways to reach statistical validity for ethnic studies by using English as a control. However, one question, whether the class should be one semester, was asked only once and only for ethnic studies, not for English. Therefore, this particular data point lacks the same statistical validity as the rest of the survey. So I still have, as I mentioned, I still have the concerns about breaking the social sciences sequence, requiring significant curriculum and staffing restructuring. And I feel teacher time would be better spent refining an already successful course.
You're referring to the 66% of students saying that they don't want a one-year course, just one semester, right?
The purpose of tonight was to whittle down our choices to 2 or 3. It sounds like we've found 2 or 3. The discussion on which of the 2 or 3 will be had at our following meeting.
Okay. I still didn't understand the answer to my previous question. In the last board meeting, there was a history and ethnic study combo as one option that was presented. What's the reason we are like stepping back and saying, let's open up? Is that was something that the teachers actually suggested?
Well, rephrase that question.
C2 is. But Eric is now saying that's not that. Now we'll open up and clear which other social studies class. So in the last board meeting, we've heard the great work of the teachers, some options and different recommendations on what could we do that would make sense from the teacher's perspective. One of the options, which I interpreted here as C2, but now I'm realizing is not that, was a semester of history and a semester of ethnic studies.
That's what C2 is.
Okay, so why does it not say semester of history and semester of ethnic studies? It says anything.
It says mandate ethnic studies as a semester course with an additional semester of social studies course.
This paper has choices.
Yeah, so that's that's my question. Why are we opening up to so many choices when there was a particular recommendation here? I see an answer here.
Can
we allow the staff to answer that?
Eric, do you mind answering that question? Kevin, Eric, sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, so Anna and I here, I'm Kevin Hyken from Mountain View High School. Anna's here from Los Altos. So we're here to help provide clarity for you folks, just to know kind of our role in that front row. So as a lot of teachers expressed in public comment, we haven't had a lot of space to really talk about what the freshman year could be. To get at board member Levich's question, my understanding of that C2 option is keeping a full year of social studies at the freshman level, having ethnic studies paired with some additional social studies class. What that class is, it could be many things. In terms of process, for kind of clarity, when we did ethnic studies as a new 9th grade offering, we spent an entire year with a task force developing a framework and getting board approval. Obviously, it doesn't need to follow that process, but we do have kind of precedent for kind of rigorous processes to make sure that community standards are given input on. But that could be a potential option. Teachers just have not had a whole lot of time to discuss at this moment what potential course offerings would be.
And as I mentioned, these are courses that are already pre-approved in other schools for UC A through G. We would have templates in terms of courses of studies for teachers to work off, potential curriculum already developed, and that's why I put that up. If you're looking at a specific course with C2, that is obviously the board's purview, but I wouldn't do a specific course without teacher input first.
I'll just
clarify, Mr. Volta, that these are all approved classes as a semester?
Some are year-long, some are semesters.
Oh, yeah, because it says 5 or 10, because if we're going to pair it with social studies, an additional semester of social studies, then it would have to be one that's a 5, not a 10.
One thing, based off of this, then I actually if these are some of the offerings we would consider, I actually think keeping ethnic studies as a year long based off what I imagine some of the topics covered in these courses are topics covered, or some of it is covered in ethnic studies. So based off all of the work and discussions we've already had, I would be more in favor of a year long course.
We're going to
considering
discuss
these-
that next time,
and that's-
finally.
yeah. I just
after we-
wanted to
But
be-
another question for the staff then is, can you kind of cut and paste and say, take let's say there's 8 units, the 8 units that you think are the most impactful from ethnic studies and put them in the ethnic studies course, and then take the parts of world history that you've taught before, because you've all taught that as freshmen too, and put that into a class or a survey class where you cover some of those topics, but in less detail, to give people a survey or an overview of say world history.
So yes, I mean, I think as we heard from some other members in public comment, anything really is possible. I think for the teachers, it's about getting kind of clear direction of what the board wants, what our community wants, and the time to have those conversations. I think kind of the time is kind of the big piece. When we crafted the ethnic studies course, we spent a very large amount of time meeting as a task force, getting an incredibly large amount of community input. And, I think it can be kind of tempting to look at ethnic studies and say, oh, we could maybe get rid of the first semester units or get rid of the second semester units and just keep one semester. But I think that the course is designed for a lot of those units to serve very different purposes, kind of with very different kind of goals, trying to promote different outcomes that we're passionate about and our community is passionate about. So there would just need to be space and time and a clear process.
Right. And I think I was thinking more cut and paste from parts of it, not throw out whole sections, you know what I mean? Or cut down cover this in the same detail, but cover that one and cover it, but not as in much detail. I mean, there's a lot of classes that do that sort of thing. But the other thing is, have you then compared with other, I mean, you designed your own, you guys, but the other ones that are being taught as a semester, to see what they emphasize, to see whether you could tailor yours to emphasize similar things, or whether you've got such a different approach that wouldn't work. And then with the, that thing. And also it would matter if you had a semester. I mean, I'm just trying to think how this would work with the amount of work. If we said we were going to have it this way and ethnic studies was going first, then you would have the whole rest of the year to work on refining ethnic studies for next year, but you would have another whole semester in the background, to plan for the other class, whatever it is, the history class, because you wouldn't have to get them both ready at the same time, because.
Or the other way around, right?
Or the other way around, yeah.
Like one of them will have more time.
Yeah.
But it's a significant amount of time either way, because we'd have to figure out tying together 2 courses that have been taught independently to make them into one thing. You don't want it to be a complete pivot necessarily. There needs to be a coherent through line, which is what we've worked to develop so far in both courses.
Yeah.
I think even if we take an edited version of ethnic studies, you still have to have time to go down to the edited version, and then also to edit what's going to go into world studies. I think so. What Kevin was talking about, there's still going to be a significant amount of time and discussion required to figure out what that.
And you don't want it to be disjointed or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Vadim, I think Vadim had his hand up, and then Yusita.
So I hear a lot of expression of how challenging it will be to change the course. I appreciate the effort. I think it's doable. Other districts have done it, have a lot to look at that didn't exist 2-3 years ago. And whatever effort you guys put in to benefit the 66, 2/3 of the students that said that they would like to have this as a 1 semester course is worth doing. Moreover, it's 67% of white students and 63% of non-white students. So it's pretty uniform across various demographics. So it's not just one group of students. That's one point. Second, I think in possible choices for another social studies course, personal finance is missing. We know it's coming as a requirement in 2031. I think it can replace economics that's currently taught in 12th grade, but it has to be decided by the board. It's a recommendation. It's not something that the state mandates that it replaces. So if we decide that we are going to ignore the fact that there is another requirement coming in that we need to allocate one semester course, another 5 credits of social studies, we as a board needs to decide that it's going to replace economics, which I hope we don't. I would be against that because I think economics is an amazing subject for students to cover. Whether they do it as required or optional, that's different. That's philosophy. And it goes back to my original statement of why would we require courses that are not required by anybody else instead of making them optional. But just for us to, as a board, do keep in mind that there is another course that's coming that's unavoidable. Okay, so we will need to make room for it, which I believe that personal finance in 9th grade, health in 9th grade, 12% of students, by the way, are taking health online as a result of ethnic studies. That change happened when ethnic studies became a required course and replaced world history. That's significant. That's those 12% are taking health in the summer. So that's another course, another change that's coming in that's missing from this paper.
So basically, my question is, does this benefit students? The student survey did show that they rated ethnic studies as comparable to English in collaboration, communication, critical thinking, reading, and writing. But one area for continued growth is ensuring all students feel teachers set high expectations for everyone in the course. This is going to be an issue with any required course, and we only have one other required course for a freshman English, right? Health you can take at any time. And differentiating instruction while maintaining high expectations for a range of learners is an ongoing process for any required course. And so I still have concerns that our teachers should have time to continue refining the approach in the existing course, just as English teachers have had. So if we've been talking about academic rigor, and I'm really concerned by doing this pivot that we will have lost ground and teachers will be working on a new curriculum and not on this difficult problem of setting high expectations for everyone in the course and differentiating instruction, which are things that you learn as a teacher as you teach a particular course.
Okay. I think you have direction for